Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss. And thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds conversation with the people behind the technology that love what they do.
And do tech good.
Doing tech. Dadgum. Hey, where are we, Brian?
We're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Yay! We are here for the UX+DEV Summit. It is the third year. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Third year
yes.
of the summit, and we're here doing shows all day long. Yeah. And speaking of the people that we're talking to, we are speaking to Pedro Marques. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, actually. It's nice weather, nice people. Can't complain.
Oh, great. Where are you actually from?
I'm from Brazil originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm from Brazil, from Belo Horizonte, but I've been living in Amsterdam for almost 4 years now.
Amsterdam. Okay, great. How you love Amsterdam?
A bit too much. It's a lovely city. Actually, I think if you think about moving to Europe, you should not move to Amsterdam, because then everything else it's gonna be worse.
It's only down like the bar,
there.
like that's the.
It's only downhill from there.
So you say you should just visit there then?
Yeah, should
and then
visit.
Live
Or if you
in
want to,
like some really rough area of Europe,
like in Germany or something. Then you go a step up.
What's so great about Amsterdam?
Yeah.
Tell me.
It's so chill. Like for me nowadays, my commute takes about 8 minutes in a bike, and like everything is in a 10-minute walk or a 10-minute bike ride away.
Oh wow, yeah.
The city is super small, but it has everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to compete.
Kind of sounds like St. Pete. St. Pete's that way as well. I can walk to downtown from where I live. That's about a 20-minute walk. But I could bike there in like 5 to 10 minutes, and then everything once you're downtown, like you said, it's like right around.
It's funny. I have actually
the
three buddies. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
I have 3 buddies that actually live in Amsterdam, and they love it. And they pretty much say the exact same thing that you just said.
It's so laid back, so chill. Like the city itself, no one is in a room. And the Dutch have a thing that I really like, is that they don't like to work.
I love that.
Yeah. Don't like.
And like work hours are usually like not long, so nobody works more than. Actually, my friends that are Dutch, they make fun of me because I work 8 hours. I work like 40 hours a week, and a normal Dutch person, they usually work less than that.
Really?
So,
what's the normal? Like 6 hours a day, or?
Yeah, something like that, like 32 hours a week or something, because they take 1 day off, or they work less hours a week.
That makes so much more sense. It's so much better for your mental capacity. True. You're going to be more creative, more productive.
That's true.
Yeah, and you spend more time doing like things with your family, with your friends, and living your life outside work. Work is basically the means to an end, which is everything else.
Which is what it should be.
Yeah, exactly. So let's do your talk. Let's talk a little bit about you and what you do and where you're working at.
So, like we said, I'm Pedro Marques. I'm from Belo Horizonte in Brazil. I've been doing design for almost 10 years now, design for the web. My focus has been mostly on e-commerce. So I worked in the early days of e-commerce in Brazil, like back in 2008, 2009.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I moved to advertisement a little bit. Then I found out why everybody hates working in advertisement, because you work like 80 hours per week or something.
Yeah, that agency life.
Yeah, oh, Jesus Christ. And then I moved to enterprise software, and I ended up at Booking.com. So I'm now at Booking.com. It's like the biggest travel agency in the planet. And I've been there focusing on building products for hotels and doing stuff for end users as well.
Yeah, I like their design. Booking the compared to a lot of the other booking platforms, it's really nice.
Thanks. My job.
Good job. High five. All him. He did everything.
I'll take credit for that.
We don't have other 200 designers. It's just me.
That's awesome. So how did you get into that? Like, is that something that you, I know you said you went from advertising, you went to there, that was your track, but what was your inspiration to get into that?
I don't have a degree.
Okay.
So everything I learned was from people that were willing to share what they know.
Yeah.
And on the internet. So like on the surfing on the web. So that's all I got my learnings from. And as soon as I got to a point that I knew that I could share stuff, I started a lot talking to conferences like this and doing workshops. This back in Brazil. Okay. And then talking to a lot of people, they're like, hey, when you move to like a product, you have more time to actually do things right. You have time to do some research and to apply these things that you're learning in UX and things like that. You can go and apply them and see them through. It's not like an agency where you have a project and then have a thing and then you launch it, then it's gone, next thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no iteration, and I wanted that. And then I moved to this enterprise software in Brazil, and I had it, so I was working a lot with that. And then at some point, Booking gave me a call, like, "Hey, kid, want a job?" Like, why not? Then I moved to Amsterdam.
So they gave you a call,
Yeah.
and asked you to come over there. How did that happen? Like, how did you get that call to like, okay, I'm doing this over here, and all of a sudden I'm in Amsterdam? Like, that had to have been also like a whole story about moving your life.
Yeah, totally. The thing is, as I was speaking in these conferences, I was very, very integrated in the Brazilian scene, I'd say, like of technology. There was this guy, Eduardo Chiota. He now is he's still at Booking.com as well, and he knew about me from other people and so on. And then he dropped me a line like, "Hey, we have a position here. I think you're a fit. If you want, I can just send you over to HR. They'll give you a call and they'll tell you more." I'm like, "Well, why not?"
Yeah, sure.
And then they just referred me to the company, and the process started, and it worked.
Yeah, and then they just sent you a big bag of money, and you got to come.
Yeah, that's basically it. They just shipped the bag of.
What was it like moving your life to another country?
It was easier than I thought because.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, because the thing is, I lived by myself for quite a while, and I had just moved into a new apartment, so I didn't have much stuff. And I was like, and this came up. I'm like,
yeah,
that's how it goes. So I basically moved to a different country with like 2 checked bags, and that's it. And but the whole process of like moving, getting things right, and it was also the first time I would use English as my first language, which was, I think, it was the biggest, not a barrier, but like the biggest change for me. But it was very fun. It was a lot of fun. The company helped a lot, so they helped.
Great.
They helped the visa. I got the job, signed the contract and stuff, and I basically just gave the passport, and they just did everything. Visa came back, ticket came back, got the plane there, and
so you just had to get on the plane.
Yeah,
and you were good.
I got a house, a car, bike. You know.
No, I got there, and there was a guy with his sign. Like that was my dream. Like my dream.
Was there really a guy with the sign?
There was a guy in the airport with the sign, like awesome. Pedro Marques. So like,
that's me.
Did you get like a picture with him? I hope you did.
No, I was trying to act like I'm used to this. This happens every day. So I was like, "Hello, sir. I'm Pedro Marques. Yeah, that's me. That's my right." So yeah, it was this, and like I had an apartment for a while. The company arranged until I found mine. So the relocation itself, the company helped. That's
pretty impressive.
They helped. They did everything.
Good job, Booking.
Yeah.
Good job to everyone.
So they
in the relocation
booked you
team.
the place to live and booked you the
car, everything. So that made it super easy. And because I knew this guy there, and there was the community inside the company is also very, very, very alive. So it was very nice to know people, and the apartment is big. So settling in the city was very easy.
When you say alive, what do you mean? Like people are just very energetic, very sharing?
Yeah, everyone is super active.
Yeah.
Inside, internally and externally. So when I joined, the week that I joined, there was an event there, like a kind of like a conference, like internal, and like a lot of people talking and so on. And then like a few weeks later, they asked me to talk as well, and then I gave like a small talk on things that I was talking in Brazil, like about performance and client side front end performance, and just it's very alive. So it's very nice because after that you go have beers, and kind of like almost everyone's in the same situation as you because they moved from somewhere else. Yeah, and everybody's curious to know like, how is your culture like? How are things for you? Because everything was different. So that's quite nice.
So what's the second language they speak over there? Is it Dutch? It is Dutch.
Dutch is the main language.
Oh, it is the main language.
Yeah,
okay.
Dutch is the main language.
So you speak a little bit? You're picking it up?
I mean, my neighbors wish I just speak more, but no. Yeah. But the Dutch is the main language. But Amsterdam is such a international city, diverse city, that English is basically the main language.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Everywhere you go, every sign, every person you talk to, everyone speaks English. I think in this almost 4 years, I might have encountered like 2-3 people that I try to talk to that they didn't speak English. Okay. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a very international city. Very international.
So let's talk a little bit about what you are here for. Yeah. Which is your talk, right? Yeah. Yeah. So which is what?
Yeah, the title of the talk is predictive design, but it's basically talking about how you can leverage on machine learning to make design decisions and to personalize your product based on models. So how people use it and trying to predict where something might go wrong for someone, or where you can make something easier for a specific set of users, and you just change something on the interface before they even know they need that thing.
Could you give me like a specific example of like, take me down like a journey? Yeah,
let's say, for example, Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian.
Brian wants to travel to Seattle.
Okay.
But Brian,
yeah.
But Brian, he just wants to go to Seattle.
I do.
But he doesn't know exactly when. He's just looking for the right opportunity.
February.
So it just goes to the Booking.com website and takes a look at Seattle for next week.
Okay.
It's like, okay, cool, but maybe the price is cheaper like tomorrow. And then he makes another search for the next day.
Yeah.
This means that Brian is flexible on his dates. But the thing is, just making this new search, it's a very how can I say, it really indicates that you're flexible, but there are other things that also indicate that, the way that you navigate, things that you pay attention to, how you filter for things. And as soon as you start doing something, I can see that pattern is going to build up into you changing your dates.
There's some opportunities that are presenting themselves.
Exactly. So like the way if you don't care that much about location, for example, if you're not filtering or looking at the map, where you want to go, it might indicate that you're not 100% sure of those dates. You're just looking for the right thing, not at that not at that specific date. So if I can predict before you actually need to make a new search, if I can predict that you will do it, I can, for example, as soon as you're searching, I know that you're flexible. I can just animate a little thing like, hey, Brian, I know you want to go to Seattle, but look, next week I have really good prices, and just one click, it takes you to that search with the good prices that I know that you care about. If I know that you care about that, and I can just show you that before you tell me that you need. So it's being more proactive than reactive to the user needs.
Being proactive to the user needs.
I like that.
That's smart, because there's so many opportunities for that conversion that way.
Yeah, exactly. Not just conversion, just making the
experience better overall.
Yes, because if I know that you will need this and I can provide this to you quicker or easier, why not?
Well,
then it's good for both.
And I don't mean conversion as far as like that cold hard sale conversion. I'm talking about conversion as something that's beneficial for Brian in this scenario. He wants the
price.
Yeah, he wants that better price, and also the company makes that sale. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so is this intersection between, at least the design plays a role of just trying to make something easier for you, because I know that make something easier for you will also, for you in this case, so making something easier for Brian, it will make the business happy too. So it's a win. It's a win. In our case, it's a win-win-win. It's like 3 wins, because Brian wins, booking wins, and the hotel wins.
Yeah, great point.
The issue I see with things like that, though, is I've personally experienced this because we try and travel at least 2 or 3 times a year going somewhere. And when I try and book a date, I change the date a little bit, but I do get pop-ups like that. I'm not necessarily on Booking. It could be on some other site. And how do you deal with doing that in a way that isn't really annoying? And I'm like, how have you guys addressed that? I'm curious.
The thing on being annoying is when you show something that, whenever you're doing something that nobody prompted you to, so you're trying to intervene in a way, like the prediction, it's super tricky.
You're obviously trying to help them.
Yeah, but it might not be the right time, right?
Yeah.
So the way we address this is that every single pixel, every single comma, every single thing in a website is A/B tested. So we test this extensively. And when we test things, it's not just a matter of like, hey, does this convert more? So does this make more money for the company? That's not how it works. Yeah. It's every action everything that you want to do, you need to have a very strong hypothesis. So my hypothesis for the thing with the tell Brian's the dates, that I want to show, I believe that if I show this specific thing at this specific time to Brian and people like Brian, it will help Brian do what he wants to do, and it will also help the company to do other things. That's my hypothesis. After I run a test, okay, great, this worked a lot, but I can see that maybe there was a lot of people that are not like Brian, but they were flagged as like Brian, and they're bouncing or dropping, and I can see they're doing something else.
And then you can see the actions they
they're
took.
Dismissing the message, so they don't care about the message. They're seeing it but not using it. So as soon as you can see this, you can at the same time also create a bucket of people that you don't want this thing to be shown. So you can take a look at those people and say like, okay, who are them? Okay, how can I put them in a bucket and just not show this to them? So again, you profile them as well. So you profile Brian and people like Brian and people that are completely not like Brian. For example,
like
people
Frederick.
For example, hey, Frederick is looking for a place tonight in
Hawaii.
In Hawaii. I mean, it's gonna take a while, but if you're looking tonight for a place in Hawaii, your needs are completely different than Brian's looking at Seattle in a few weeks from now. So there are things that we have to show to you, and things that we feel obligated to make it easier for you. That for you is different. So there's different needs. So addressing, just getting back to the questions, is A/B testing the hell out of it, and just really trying to understand what else happened that wasn't predicted, because there's outliers, the things that happened that you didn't predict are actual things that your users are maybe concerned about or they don't like about it, and you really need to take a look at those things.
What are some of the actionable takeaways about this talk? Because we've spoken about all these different kind of things, and we've spoken about predictability and how to leverage that and how to use that for certain users or demographics. But what are the actionable takeaways that people get from understanding this?
So I named the talk Predictive Design specifically because of this, because when you have a lot of machine learning behind, in this case, in Brian's scenario, it's more anticipation. The difference is that anticipation is a forecast with base, and a prediction is more a forecast without it. Is more uncertain. So you're doing your best guess. So I did this because not everyone has the luxury of having millions of users just like we have at Booking, so we can actually build profiles like this. Not everyone has the technical, not every company has the technical ability, the technical resources to do this. What are the takeaways? The takeaway is that at the end of the day, these are just patterns. So what I wanted everyone to get out of the talk thinking about is that take a look at what the users or customers are doing, and find where it breaks and understand what happened before. So try to look for patterns of things that will lead into a friction point, and see how you can fix them. So the main takeaway is kind of finding where something goes wrong, or where you want something to go right, and building profiles on patterns so you can improve that experience, or just cut it out because maybe you don't need that part. So I think that's the main takeout. Just talk a lot to your users, and because technology doesn't do anything if there isn't a human driver behind it. So it's a lot about this, because machine learning, artificial intelligence, they're all nice and cool buzzwords, but in the end, it takes an extensive amount of work for people in the background.
It takes critical to be able to take that data, make use your critical thinking, and make actual decisions based on that data, and make real business changes.
Because data is there, and data is just a bunch of numbers or a bunch of things that you have in a drawer, and the problem with it is that you can make it validate a point, or not. So you can
shift the numbers.
So you can shift it in different places. So it takes this. You need to put the human in the center of that. So I want to help Brian achieve this. How can I do this? What I have at my disposal that I can help Brian achieve this thing. So it's a lot of in the end it's a lot about
Seattle.
It's
sending Brian to Seattle, and I'm going to Hawaii, I guess.
I'm staying here because it's sunny, it's nice. I'm staying in Florida.
Hawaii.
But yeah, I think the main takeaway is this one, just to really talk to people, understand patterns that lead into a specific situation, and how you can make that not happen, or depending on your case, make that happen easier.
Yeah, that's great. All right, excellent. Well, we're getting around to the end of the show.
Any
last bit of advice you'd like to tell people, or anything that you really want to convey about this talk?
I think there's something that I stressed a lot by the end of the talk, was that there's one thing I like to say is that technology is heartless. It's really heartless because it's not a person.
Yeah.
And you need, especially us like user experience designers and people that are more keen to taking a look at what the users do.
Yeah.
You really need to take the extra effort to put the user in the center of what you're doing, because they're humans in the end. And it doesn't matter how much machine learning power or how much artificial intelligence you have, if you're gonna build a machine that doesn't why you're building it then. And
Right, yeah.
I think it's I think for me this is the main takeaway, like the main thing that I want to convey, I'd say, is that it needs to be human. If it's not, then it's pointless.
Well said. All right, good. Well, hey, how can people get a hold of you, Pedro? How can people find out more about you? You have a website, you have a Twitter.
Yeah, in my website there's a bunch of links. My website is just like, hi, this is me in links. So
Okay.
it's pedromarques.io, and there you can find my Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. Maybe too much. So
One might call it an addiction.
Maybe. So yeah, I'm always on Twitter, and my Twitter link is over there. So yeah, pedromarques.io, and that's me.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being on the show, man.
Thank you for talking to me.
Yeah,
Really appreciate it.
I hope you have a great time in Seattle.
Oh, I hope so
And
too.
I'll have an excellent time in Hawaii. Well, thanks, guys. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming up.